Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Test, test, test. Okay. Yeah, so last week's analysis was kind of like, hey, we're teetering at a zone on the tether chart here. We put in this like inverted hammer candle that looked like a rejection, but we ended up getting follow through off this region, right? And we were saying that the weekly RSI had bullish divergence, and it looks like tether is coiling up to make a move up, right? Which is causing a lot of these assets to draw down, right? And so we mentioned that last week, that being a possibility when Bitcoin was in the moon at 108K, and we tagged that major fib extension at the 1272, and the S&P indices were also pulling back after the FOMC meeting. They were also very extended. Yeah, it looks like we're going to see some more continuation down, guys, based on what I'm seeing on these charts. And I kind of just want to make you guys aware of that. I'm not saying you shouldn't be bullish the market. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that these are going to be some nice drawdowns and some nice pullbacks on these assets. And I think that we're going to get to some value areas soon, probably in the next coming weeks, where you're probably going to want to, dollar cost average into them and hold them through 2025. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing, and that's kind of what I'm seeing on these charts. And some of these altcoins are still pretty beat up. A lot of them haven't really made major rallies, like the Kusamas of this world, the Polkadots of this world. Solana just putting in maybe a retest of its breakout. Yeah, so you had this major breakout for Solana, for example, and now you're coming back down to retest, right? So to me, none of this stuff really looks that bearish. It just looks like overextended market. Yeah, it should. I mean, it might, but I mean, I would also kind of say that it might not because of the power on the weekly time frame here. All right, and you got the stochastic RSI ticked up here. You got your 3-day is kind of looking pretty bullish on your 3-day momentum. Your 3-day RSI is still here at 45, which is neutral. I'm not gung-ho bullish the dollar here, but you got to be aware that these pullbacks can happen. The US dollar itself might actually pull back itself, which could help Bitcoin kind of mitigate this move down. But if you look at Bitcoin and how it closed last week, we printed a weekly bearish engulfing candle. And so, we could see follow through down on this move. We haven't printed a weekly short signal on Bitcoin in quite some time on regular candles. And so to me, it just looks like we're probably going to go retest the bottom of this range at like 87K to 90K. I mean, I think my worst case scenario target would be a retest of the major breakout, which is like around 73K, which there is a gap fill area there. Which to me, this wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary for Bitcoin after, a break of, 55% move to give half that back. I think that would be normal. Yeah, we'll look at Strat, man. Sure. Strat weekly. I mean, I don't really have that much data on this chart, but the weekly kind of maybe like a cup with handle structure. We might go retest the bottom of that range, that 6.6 cent region. Listen, if Bitcoin pulls back, all these are going to continue pulling back. And so that's kind of the crux of it. It could be looking extremely bullish, but if Bitcoin decides that it's gonna pull back, then that's going to destroy any technical setup you have, unfortunately. Yeah, but I would probably be looking at the middle of the range, like 6.5 for maybe a retest. You had an attempted breakout here, and it looks like it failed. Yeah, so top of the range here, probably pull back a bit. I would say 6.5 cents is probably a region where you'd be looking to target. That was like a previous region here that you broke from. And so you got this dip here. You got a nice bounce off the range low here to try to catalyze a move, but couldn't break the range. So probably some more pulling back and consolidation should be in the cards for Strat. Okay, yeah. So look at ETH. I remember saying last week I didn't like that weekly candle close. I said those usually can resolve in downside price action. Well, there you go. We've actually done that. We've now tagged the weekly Keynesian line and printed a weekly short signal on ETH here, and yeah, coming back down to like 2,900 region wouldn't really shock me if we saw continued selling. Here, our weekly momentum is still pointing down here. You can see we got like a sell signal, and so yeah, I mean, we're gonna bounce around and stuff here, but I think ultimately we could maybe tag a little lower, like 2,900 region. That's what it's looking like. Especially if that tether chart continues to push up. I don't see how we can really bring through a rally. So maybe some more pulling back, consolidating in these markets. We'll look at total 3. Or the total chart actually we'll probably look at. But high time frame, I think we're still fine in terms of being in a bull market, in a bull run. Yeah, I mean, just look. This doesn't look like anything significant happening on this chart. We could even pull back down to like 2.7 trillion and still be fine. That would just be a back test on the monthly time frame. So yeah, I don't think this is anything to be really that concerned about. Yeah, just hang on to some of your dry powder if you want to accumulate at these lows we're gonna probably encounter here over the next week or two. Could be longer too. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but you guys get the drift. All right. It's our first white monthly candle on Bitcoin or on total. In these bull runs, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, roughly 6 months of white overbought candles. The 2017 run up was kind of an anomaly. I don't know that we're going to do something like that, but it would make a lot of sense for us to get to, probably the top of the channel, which is maybe around that $10 trillion marker for crypto. It could be more, it could be less, but it's pretty clear that this is kind of the structure that we're in right now for long term. Like the monthly time frame here is still looking pretty strong with some nice separation on the monthly. And our monthly stochastics going into heated territory here, but this is like the parabolic mania phase of the market. So that's what we start when we start doing that. And so it could last a few months, 3 to 6 months, as we stated. The other thing you guys want to really look at is the global liquidity chart. So just similarly that Bitcoin broke out from its range and the S&P broke out from its range, well, global liquidity also broke out from its range and made a top. And it is now drawing down, which that means liquidity is leaving the market, right? It's going somewhere. It's probably going into cash for the pullback. And it's just going to retest. It's going to retest its breakout. And so we're going to monitor this. This is probably, where it's going to, eventually find support right off this low. And then, we'll probably sort of maybe make a bottom and maybe go higher on the global liquidity when they start, easing the money printing, or when they start money printing. And I think that you're going to see that in the coming months. All right. And so that's kind of the crux of it. I'm expecting some further downside in these markets over the next coming weeks, and we'll continue to monitor it. And that's basically it. Some of these meme coins on like Solana and stuff are like down 90 something percent. Like I'm in a few of these right now. These might actually catch some really significant bounces to make lower highs and stuff. So you could maybe trade some of these if you like volatility. But yeah, I think that ultimately we're going to probably see some more downside in the cards here. All right. So yeah, probably like 90. Yeah, let's see. What did I have for Bitcoin here? Yeah. So if you go to the weekly and you look at the MAs, it lines up right around 73K. 73K. All right. I'm not saying that it has to go there, but usually after you get major breakouts and major movements, you revert back to the mean, and the mean is right around that $74,000 region. So that's what it looks like. Again, we may not see that follow through, but you can see the gaps here. Here's a gap right here at 78K. That's probably going to get filled. It just makes some sense that they do that with the weeklies extended like that. H bar with a weekly short printing right now. Yeah, 18 cents looks like your range break region on the weekly time frame. Yep, weekly's kind of ticked down here. Not a sell signal yet on the weekly momentum. But I mean, if Bitcoin's going to pull back, I mean, there's probably a good shot at this that it's probably also going to pull back or maybe consolidate here for some time. Like it might attempt to rally or something, and then come down, and then consolidate, and then go higher later on. So that's what it looks like. Maybe a short-term move up, and then I think a drawdown is what I think on each bar. What's going on, Toe? Toe wants gold and the normal shenanigans, right? So Yeah, I think gold just continues to maybe trend down or go sideways. Yeah, maybe picking up a bid here at 26.24 region. The daily looks like maybe you might tick up here a bit. So yeah, bottom of the range here for gold. You could see middle of the range, 26.56, maybe on up to 2700 on the daily time frame. I did. Yep. Pulse chain assets got a pretty significant bounce over this weekend. Teddy bear putting in like a 30% candle. Pretty bullish stuff on the teddy bear chart, making new all-time highs and coming back down to retest. Got some nice bullish divergence there. I mean, yeah, I would say that that's implying some movement up, right? Your daily reset, your 12-hour reset, your 3-day still kind of coming down, but your 12-hour and daily are going to push this higher. Look at that. It's a pretty long wick. I mean, that's not to say that this doesn't come down a little bit more, maybe back to the $62 million market cap region, but I don't think you're going to end up taking out this wick. But you could come back down to retest this $61 million region, and that's it. Maybe, your weekly also still extended up here. You could be looking at some weeks of consolidating and stuff like that up here. Again, I don't really see this just like rallying out of here like so quick, especially with TVL drawing down like that, and the broader market also pulling back. But yeah, I mean, these are great. These are going to be great buying opportunities when they do come. Like this was a great buying opportunity here the other day, retest like that. So yeah, I think short term maybe you push a little bit because that 12-hour and daily look good, but the high time frame still got got a bunch of selling pressure that's still in the works and brewing there. But you're in a major uptrend, so just because the higher time frame there is signaling, downside, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to like just continue crashing. It could end up just consolidating at these major support levels and then catching bids later here, which is what it kind of looks like it's going to do. So that's a pretty bullish looking chart. And same with like the wrap Bitcoin on Pulse chain. We got that retest down to 450. And we've already doubled in price since that retest. I mean, that's very, very strong. Very, very, very strong, right? So does that mean that this is just going to start rallying here now? Not necessarily. It is still oversold. So like we could still see, maybe lower highs somewhere. Yeah. I mean, your 12-hour stochastic's giving you pretty much almost a buy signal there to maybe push a bit higher. Like we could push back up to like maybe 1.3K, make a lower high somewhere, and then come back down. Something like that. That's what it looks like. All right. So those are your pulse chain assets. Anything else you guys want to look at? NQ, probably much of the same. Probably also, I mean, NQ got a reset. You know what we really should be looking at is the VIX. Yeah, we'll look at Rivian too. Let's look at the VIX real quick because this is going to really dictate what the stock market's going to do. I think anyway. So the VIX. Let's see. Let's Go to our monthly on the VIX. Yeah, the VIX still looks kind of low risk down here, right? It's at the bottom of its range. I know we had this big wick up and got rejected here. That was a pullback we started to see on the stock market. And another, big wick into resistance there. But yeah, I'd really keep your eye on this. Right now, we're printing a short signal on it. That's a good sign that might mean that stock market continues higher, or goes sideways or consolidates or something. But yeah, I'd be paying attention to this. This is a precursor to what's to come in the market. Big drawdowns, stuff like that. So yeah, daily RSI extended up here. So yeah, this is probably going to draw down a bit. Weekly RSI, not so much extended. 53 just went bullish on the weekly. Probably, that's probably going to lead to maybe some more downside in the market. We got maybe monthly RSI bull div here. That's kind of scary. So it hasn't formulated into anything just yet, but yeah, I'd be cautious in these markets right now, especially the stock market. If you trade the S&P, it still kind of looks low risk down here in terms of these big crashes and stuff, but we could be getting one potentially. I hope I'm wrong, but this weekly is just got a bullish cross. There's no arguing with the chart. It's telling you that. We went and wicked up to the top of the range. I mean, anyways, yeah, let's not get too caught up in it, but just be definitely cognizant of the VIX and what it's doing. Rivian rejecting the major moving average here. But high time frame, I think that this looks good. A bunch of monthly MFI buy signals down here. Your RSI sitting down here at 32 on the monthly. Very oversold. Probably a long-term accumulation or buy zone for this stock. All right. So, yeah, I would say that this looks decent. Even here, it closed the week 6%. The weekly close was kind of like an indecision candle, but not really a bad candle, not the best candle. I'd probably wait to see what happens next week. If it ends up tagging this 1250 region, I'd probably be looking to scoop that up there. Because that's probably a low risk spot to do that. Sure, LUV, let's take a look at it, man. Southwest Airlines. All right. Yikes, that monthly candle is not a good candle. Yeah, I mean, your monthly RSI looks okay. It's bullish, 51. I mean, I think it looks okay. There's definitely better assets you can probably hold long term than Southwest Airlines. But yeah, I think it looks fine from a higher time frame. I think it's fine from a higher time frame. So yeah, you can hold this. It's down here. It's got room to run for sure. Yeah, you might take a year or so to get back up to the top of the range. So yeah, that's a quarterly chart. Quarterly chart looks good. So, no problems there from a long-term perspective. Your short-term chart, you could chop around in that, $20 to $30 region or whatever. But high time frame, you could stay in that long term for sure. What else you guys got? Well, there goes Bitcoin. Giving a little dumpage at the open here. How's ETH holding up? So ETH is actually holding up a little bit better than Bitcoin here. A little bit. I mean, it's basically whatever, just sitting here. Let's see if ETH just starts outperforming Bitcoin, because that would mean, if that happens, that would mean that we're probably going to see a roll. Okay. And if that happens, then the alts are probably going to be more bid than Bitcoin. So that's something to look out for here. I'm looking out for that. I think we're approaching that season. And so ETH Bitcoin chart is something that we're really looking at right now, and we've been looking at for some time. And if you're in these markets and you're in altcoins, this is definitely a very important chart to be understanding and looking at. And yeah, your monthly time frame on the ETH Bitcoin chart is pretty wrecked here. Like, look at your RSI, look at your stochastics. They're all in the buy zone here on the monthly time frame, oversold on the monthly time frame. So yeah, this is going to take months for this to come out of oversold. I think by February or so, we're going to see this come out of oversold and ETH start outperforming Bitcoin. And then we'll be off to the races. I think we got probably another week or two here of drawdown or consolidation versus the dollar, and then I think this eventually happens where we see ETH Bitcoin ratio going up to like 8-9%. Maybe some months out. Yeah, this could be the whole move that it ends up making against Bitcoin. So, how's it going, dude? What else you guys got? Any other assets? IONQ. Well, you're in price discovery, and you made a nice double bottom. So your neckline, 486%. So your break, 486%, takes you to about 111. You've done about half the move. Yeah, I would be. I'd be. I'd be a little weary of maybe a pullback on this thing, but you could get up to that region eventually. So like $70 looks kind of like where you'd be going. Yeah, pretty extended already on the weekly. No bearish divergence or anything on your MACD. Very, very much so bullish. Very, very bullish. Monthly also looks like very bullish here. Just starting its move on the monthly chart. Yeah, broke a pretty big squeeze. Your monthly RSI, again, in heat though, man, you're at 82. It's probably a good time to look to de-risk some stuff. It doesn't mean that it won't continue higher, right? Because you could just make bearish divergence and make a new all-time high and continue. These are stocks. And that monthly MACD looks like it's probably got more momentum behind it. But, depending on what your entry was on that thing, I'd be happy to take some off the table up there. Really. Just watch those RSIs, man. Those are extended. So when they're extended, they can pull back quick. I mean, they're super bullish trends. And so those dips get bought, but you're looking at probably 30%, 20, 30%, maybe even 40% drawdowns and stuff like that. All right, so you're good. So you're riding a free trade then, and that's good, dude. Good. Ink. Yeah, you want to look at ink. I think high time. I mean, like the whole markets are, pulling back and stuff right now. I mean, Pulse Chain got really big bounces. So, but yeah, this is still oversold here on the 12-hour. You came right back down to tag that bottom of the range. I can't really say that this is a bad place to accumulate this asset. It's not. It's a nice retest. This could go back up to like 150 million market cap and then maybe come back down one more time and make a double bottom or something and eventually get out of here. Okay. Something like that. Bonk, ban, PP. Yeah. There's kind of some mixed technicals a lot on these charts right now, and it's tough to be. I mean, we're in a bull run, hands down. We're in a bull market, but these drawdowns that we're going to see and get, you have to be okay with that happening, right? Especially if you're okay with them going up, right? So monthly on bonk here, a pullback candle. Weekly, yeah, you broke this range. You're dipping your toes into this range here. Yeah, you could come back down to tag that 244 region. That wouldn't shock me because the tether chart's pointing up and everything looks like we might be pulling back. Continued pullbacks here, or at least a consolidation or something. Your weekly got a nice reset, so you could be, volatility wise, it looks like you got a nice bounce. You're going to maybe get a nice bounce here, or maybe go sideways. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily going to just start crashing like hard here, but it wouldn't shock me if it went down a little bit further. Okay. Like maybe another 20 or 30% drawdown. Is it probably in the cards for something like bonk? Ban, never heard of that. Let's take a look at that. I don't know which one this is. Is the one on BitGet? Is it this one? Board shooting. Okay, so this looks like you got a nice drawdown, right? You're right at the gold mean ratio. You bouncing right off a previous level here. That's good to see. But if the broader market's going to pull back a bit, then there is a possibility that this can break back into these ranges down here. Okay, I'm not saying that that's a for certain thing to have happen, but I'm just saying that that's a possibility. You could start building a position here, though. Like the asset's down quite a bit. It's right at a fib extension. I would say it's always smart to add at major fib extensions, especially if you're down at the gold mean ratio. Like you probably want to start here if you like this asset and you're long-term bullish on it, and you have a few $1,000s you're planning on allocating to this asset, maybe you stab $1,000 here and see what the market does. If it ends up, breaking and then pulling back again, bought at 1.4. I don't even see it at 1.4. Oh, well, yeah, dude, you don't really want to buy it when it's going up. You kind of want to buy it when it's going down. That way you can get out of it when it goes up, right? So, yeah. So these would be the areas that I'd be looking at to buy it. Bottom of the range and the 786 or 886 fib extension. It may not get down there. It just depends. But you can see the selling pressure on this asset. It's just being sold. So yeah, I'd be careful on something like this. So yeah, but your daily here is pretty wrecked. This is like I said, this is some good dollar cost averaging territory. Oversold daily RSI. That's what you want. That's where you want to buy. I've made videos about it. You can check the channel and try to find them. But basically all you're doing with Fibonacci is, fibbing from your low point to your high point that you made and trying to find areas of value or areas where you could see there's a lot of trading volume in this region right here. So this very well could be where buyers step in on the price because the daily RSI is oversold. Now that's not a high time frame, but that's a daily chart, and that could catalyze, that could catalyze a pretty significant bounce. Like it could move 30, 40, 50% off this low and tag this 6 cent region. And we could do something like this where you bounce out of here and then market continues selling off, and then you come back down to retest the same low, and then you put a double bottom in, and then that's when you know that the bottom is probably in for this asset, and then it can change its trend. Okay. So buying when the asset's oversold is a low risk thing to do because the RSI is oversold. Buying when the asset's overbought is a high risk thing to do because the asset's overbought and it needs a cool off. It needs to reset itself. Okay. Like Bitcoin's weekly chart is overbought. So what's going to happen? Right? The weekly is overbought and now it's coming down. And what is the price doing? The price is coming down. And so where you end up bouncing, that's where you probably look at some daily charts or some, 12-hour time frames to see where you're going to maybe catch some bounces along the way down, because we know that the weekly time frame here is a high time frame, and this is going to take precedent over a smaller time frame like a daily chart. Okay. So yeah, I think Bitcoin is definitely on its way down here for the next coming weeks. And so that's something you need to be aware of. So all these altcoins that are already drawing down, they might continue to draw down, or they might start outperforming Bitcoin because of where we're at in the cycle. And that's why I said to really start paying attention to ETH, because if ETH really starts outperforming and this starts getting a bid, which I don't think is going to happen right now because the tether chart is telling you the things that we don't necessarily want to see for upside in this market, we're actually going to see probably more continued downside. G baby. Yeah, I mean, all the pulse chain assets are probably going to continue lower after those major bounces, but they actually look more bullish than a lot of these other assets do, I gotta say. But yeah, those RSIs are still way in the moon, way extended. But we got some nice bounces on some of these assets, like this asset's up 47% today. But this actually looks good, man. This is giving you buy signals on the 8-hour time frame. A lot of these assets aren't giving you that. That's the crazy part. Like this to me looks bullish. You didn't break the channel yet, but if you break that channel, man, you're gonna make a move, right? Like pulse chain looks pretty good. I gotta say, pulse chain assets look pretty good after that nice reset it just got. So, does that mean pulse chain makes new highs? No, but it could mean that we sit up here and we consolidate up here, which is a bullish thing to say. Yeah. UX link. Let's take a look at it. I've never heard of this one, dude. Let's take a look. It's running, dude. It's in price discovery, it looks like. Looks pretty extended, dude. Look at your daily. Look at your 2-day in the moon. It's probably not a bad time to think about de-risking a little bit of this trade. All right. Not saying it can't go higher. I'm not saying that any of the above is not possible, but I mean, the whole market's pulling back. I mean, there's a real reason why this thing is just ripping right now. I mean, the chart looks good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the chart looks bad. It doesn't. And you started tagging some major fib extensions, right? 165. You might tag 240 or something. I don't know what your entry is, but if it's somewhere in the 40-cent region, well, you're doing pretty good. Your white candles here, you might end up getting to this 250 region or something before a big drawdown, and then maybe higher. So, but yeah, I mean, you're starting to get extended on those time frames. So it's something to be aware of. Sounds good. Well, I unfortunately have to go because my daughter is not happy right now, and I got to attend to her because I got to do that. But appreciate all you guys tuning in. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the content. I know I don't have the greatest news for you guys. Hopefully, this movement down isn't going to be too brutal for a lot of people. We got daily time frames here. Crossing a resistance, and we have long signals coming in on the daily time frame. The 2-day here is starting to print long. We haven't crossed the Kijun line at 4.61%, but we tagged it. The weekly, putting in the first bullish engulfing candle we've seen in quite some time. That's going to have implications. That's going to have consequences for these assets when you see stuff like this. Okay, so trade safe, trade smart. We're still in a bull run, and huge breakout for Bitcoin. So congrats to Bitcoin. But pulling back to the 70, 80K region, or 75 to $80,000 region isn't a bearish thing. It's actually a bullish thing to see a reset like that. So pulling back, not a bad thing to see. 20, 30% drawdown for Bitcoin is normal in bull runs and uptrends. So trade safe, trade smart. Catch you guys next week. And sorry, it booted me out, but thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys next week.